World-renowned human performance expert, executive coach, best-selling author.
And I want to congratulate Ron Kardashian.
Over 12,000 hours of one-on-one coaching and mentorship.
He's a health and cognitive expert.
Known as a spiritual confidant to respected industry leaders. CEO of 3 companies.
Coach and minister Ron Kardashian.
Good friend, Coach Ron Kardashian.
Yeah, if you can go ahead and pull that back. Hey guys, welcome to Always Winning. I'm Coach Ron Kardashian. We do not have my good buddy Tim here today. And this light is way overkill. Let's go ahead and move that out of the way. All right, makeshift studio today, recording live. I'm on site at another residence out in Las Vegas, so I had to do some travel time. But we're going to get right into this today. This is a really important topic because I'm dealing with a lot of people who, on the onset of the new year, are constantly dealing with the ambition, efforts to accomplish goals, and they burn themselves out. University studies show 3 weeks and you're out. And what's really discontenting about this whole matter is that they get this just do it mentality, which our beloved Nike has instituted, and I'm not against it. I'm a just do it guy. You know, coaching pro athletes, Olympians, and the mindsets of high-level executives, I want you to just put yourself in that category. Why? Because our brains all run the same way. Whether you're a pro athlete or a high-level executive or a janitor, you are a human being and are just as talented. You've got the DNA of greatness in you. You have got the same 62,000 miles of capillaries and arteries in your body. Your heart beats 2,000 plus gallons per day, and you've got over 1 billion synaptic connections in your brain. Go ahead and just put your hand on your head and say, I have the makeups of a billionaire. I don't use that word lightly because Warren Buffett puts on his pants the same way you do. Now, a lot of people will default to an emotional regulatory limiting belief. It's almost a tongue twister, where they will say, no, Ron, I wasn't born into that. I wasn't born into money. I've had to work for everything. Well, you know, the list goes on about people who have executed from nothing, have obtained everything. If they can do it, so can you. The key thesis of understanding this is 7 letters, 3 words. Be all in whatever that you're doing. So the next level of execution is no longer effort-based or skill-based. It's regulation-based. There is a system in the brain that neuroscience has now proven, and I couldn't prove this 10 years ago, right? You guys know I've been in the human performance space for over 2 decades now. We did not have the university studies ascertaining the theories that I was watching happen in the boardroom and in the weight rooms until now. So let's quantify this so you really get an understanding of it without getting too ethereal. It's very logical. Under pressure, emotional regulation consistently outperforms raw skill, period. So that's why just do it is no longer enough. Let's break this down. In high stress environments, the brain does not default to skill. It defaults to what we call a cognitive state. And under threat, you have to understand you have several parts of the brain. You've got to do a little Google search on the amygdala. The amygdala is the fight, flight, or freeze space. This hijacks decision-making and suppresses the frontal part of the brain, which is the cerebral frontal cortex, the CFC. And that controls your focus. Can you stay focused? Impulse control. Can you stay in control of the situation even when things aren't going your way? And then it compounds with optimizing strategy. So you're constantly trying to strategize, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're that lead of a department, you're a stay-home mother, you're a father who's an executive and you're trying to handle family life, marriage. I mean, you talk about going offline. I always like to be the first one to admit I have fallen short in every one of these areas. I'm not just speaking from advanced development. I'm speaking from University of Hard Knocks. I had to learn this. Here's the university insight behind this. I think it was it Yale? Also Stanford. One of my guys is saying Stanford. Yale University research, I remember showed acute stress reduces the prefrontal efficiency by 30 to 40%, even in highly skilled individuals. So skill collapses without regulation. Even the most highly skilled, 30 to 40%. Imagine if your portfolios were doing that well or that bad, down 30 to 40%. Well, this is happening on a day-to-day basis. We're also going to talk about emotional regulation. How does it beat skill? Let me give you the data on that, because everyone's like, come on, Ron. This is why emotional regulation tools, assessments, areas that you can actually read the brain are so important. Harvard University studies on leadership under pressure showed that leaders with high emotional regulation, they demonstrate up to 30% more higher decision accuracy than equally skilled pairs. I'm working with this engineer right now at Applied Materials. He's trying to escalate into senior level advancements. These salaries they go from, 100,000 a year to 200 to 400 to 600. This is emotional regulation. It is focus. It is impulse control. It's strategy. His Harvard degree or Purdue degree only goes so far. That was the academic side, his skill set. But now he's talking about managing people. It's all emotional intelligence. And yes, Stanford, you just got it to me. Stanford University Behavioral Lab said that the research shows that regulated leaders recover from cognitive stress 2 to 3 times faster. So that will preserve your execution speed, and clarity. A lot of tongue twisters in this one today. So in short, skills tell you what to do. Regulation determines whether you can access it. So let's wrap this up with understanding why Be All In is the new performance model. All in, not hustle. This is alignment. So you're aligning yourself with clarity through the brain. You're aligning yourself with the heart, which you know that I'm a big advocate on. Research now shows the heart has 40,000 neurons in it. So it helps regulate the body and the brain faster than the brain does with the heart. And you can get my previous teachings on, well, how do I optimize heart regulation? These are issues of the heart. These are deep spiritual, logical, neurological, cardiovascular issues, because when you're under stress, heart rate starts beating faster, and that, as you guys know, you can start perspiring, you can start having anxiety, maybe you feel a little depression creep in. But when these are aligned, the effort drops and the output rises. This is why it's important to stay anchored. So you have to have regulatory anchors and not hustle. In fact, remove that word from the language. I know Harvard's put out stuff on hustle and grit. I'm a wordsmith. So that word hustle comes from the word hustler. Get it out. I got a side hustle, or I'm trying to hustle. And that it doesn't send the right message to the brain. Say I'm a high performer. Say I'm working on high performance strategy. I got a side gig going on where I'm doing high performance, boom, boom, boom in your field. And this helps regulate the nervous system already. So what I want you to understand is that knowledge brings power. If you understand how the brain works, you will be able to regulate the nervous system. And it is correlated with 30% lower burnout rates and higher sustained performance. That's Harvard Workplace Studies. So let's talk about training this brain right? You say to me, emotional regulation. Let me give you some definition of terms. What is it? Emotional regulation is the brain's capacity to stabilize your internal state under pressure. So high order cognition remains online. So this is how coach stays coach. It's kind of an innate gift, right? It's my calling. So this helps, which I advocate. The emotional stability will actually give you the confidence to sustain maybe a role that you don't love, and the time, the framework to sustain your emotional regulation until you find a new job. Because if you go into a new career or a new interview or a new company emotionally dysregulated because you've got anxiety from your previous job, they're going to pick up on it. Oh, it's true. Heart coherence variability shows that I don't want to use the word magnetic because I'm not new ageism. I'm a very spiritual guy, as you know. But the logic behind it is the heart has this electronic pulse, right? That's what a rhythm is. Like an irregular heartbeat is a irregular rhythm, right? We call them what? Biorhythms. Irregular heart, biorhythm. I'm forgetting what it is. I'm not a cardiologist. But an irregular heartbeat is because it's the signal sending wrong. Well, here's what they've proven, that within a 5 to 10 foot span, people pick up on that pulse. So you can see why if you're in an interview and dysregulated, they don't know what they're feeling. They're just feeling something's off. You got all the talent, you had all the gifts. But this is why cognition has to be stable. Neuroscience is the ability of the prefrontal cortex to modulate the fear, flight, or freeze response. So this gives you clear thinking, this gives you impulse control, strategic decision making, and then moral and relational discernment, which is something that I'm dealing with executives all over the world, especially in the political arena. How do they make immoral and irrational decisions? Dysfunction of the prefrontal cortex. It's offline. Why? No emotional regulation. So they're just doing it. They're traveling the nation. They're doing their thing. They're running hard. Busyness does not mean effectiveness. In fact, one of my mantras is less people, deeper conversations this year. I'm not working with hundreds of people. I've got maybe about 35 people that I keep in my system every week, 35 hours a week. Right? Some of them cancel. I've got time off. I'm in the gym. I'm walking in a park every morning. And listen, we have our investments going. I have other jobs going. I have other companies that I'm running, but I have people around me that are doing it for me. Why? Strategic, ladies and gentlemen, strategic. And because I have worked so hard on emotional regulation, it gives me the ability to stay calm. University data, again, Yale research shows dysregulation can suppress executive function by 30 to 40%. Memorize it. Anytime you're dysregulated, you are down 30 to 40%. Step away from the office, get out of your living room, get out of the bedroom, and go take a walk. Deep breath into the heart coherence. Brain is aligning, and all of a sudden now it comes back online. Quick coherence is a technique we coach here at the coaching firm, and we can do it in 2 minutes. It's powerful. I'll do it before I got a guy or a gal that's about to go on stage. They'll give me a quick call. I have it planned. Let's do some deep breathing. Let's focus on your points. Game changer. Absolute game changer. Individuals who are trained in regulation, they maintain cognitive access even during threat exposure. So when there's higher elevations of threat, when you have not been able to fully comprehend what's happening, I'm telling you right now, this is huge. It is a very powerful, powerful thing to be able to regulate yourself under pressure. So think about that. Let's take a deep breath in as I get ready to plug in my laptop. I notice it's already dead. Just take a moment right now. Take a deep breath in. Think about what's going on. And let's regulate. Regulate yourself right here, right now, real time. Emotional regulation is not emotional suppression. It's emotional command. Command, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I feel it's so important, so that you can make the changes that you want to make that will stick forever, because the more you do this, the better it gets. All right. Let me introduce those two that I want you to be aware of, and we'll pick this up next week, because this was the main emphasis, was that be all in is be all in with you. You got to be all in with how you're developing yourself. I think the wealthiest people I coach, all of them had one thing in common. They all prize personal development as a core value. People that don't invest in themselves don't show that you value you. We can drop 80 grand on a car, 40 grand on a car, but we don't ever show that same value to ourselves. One of my coaches, 150,000 a year. I pay him. If you ever meet a coach that doesn't have a coach, there's a problem there. This is what happens. It keeps me on my A game. We'll 3, 4, 5x that number. One of my companies right now has developed a full-blown cognitive analytic tool to help find your not only IQ, but the EQ, emotional quotient. And it's a couple bucks. Everybody can afford it. At least DM us and inquire about it. Let me tell you the 3 things it gives, but forget about selling you anything. I want you to understand this. IQ is your intelligence quotient. That measures your reasoning, memory, problem solving. It's completely static by nature. And it helps you to control and perform well in controlled environments. Hear that? What about uncontrolled, though? What about disgruntled people? What about emotionalism that you're hit with, problematic issues? EQ optimizes that and sets you above. That's what this engineer that I'm coaching at Applied Materials is doing. I said, you've already proven you got the degree. You've already proven you got work ethic. You've already proven that you can do a $100 million merger. You've already shown that you could facilitate now. Now it's about leadership, and leadership is about emotionally regulating people around you. Does that make sense? Okay. The second one that we assess in is adaptability quotient. That's AQ. It measures how effectively a person adjusts thinking, emotions, and behavior under uncertainty, stress, and change. This is groundbreaking. We never had this data before. So what it does is it immediately gives you a 6-page printout. You're able to see yourself on paper. In fact, I think they uploaded it for me right here so I can show you a little screenshot of it. Does that pop up? No, does it pop up? No, it doesn't pop up. That puts Tim back on there. That's all right. Let me go back here. I thought I could pop it up. I don't have Tim today to help me regulate this, but see how emotionally regulated I have to be presenting? Can you imagine if I wasn't comfortable in my own skin to make mistakes? This is what the assessment does for me. It has already shown me what I'm darn good at. I'm already very self-confident. I need to apply that through emotional regulation to stay regulated, even under error or mistakes, because we're not perfect people. Trying to be perfect in every situation, that thought alone is a limiting belief. It'll de-escalate your cognition and make you lose focus on your points. Notice how I didn't lose focus, real-time example. So adaptability quotient, how well can you adapt? It predicts performance in real-world pressure. So that way, wow, I'm working on this area. Can I be totally candid with you? On my way back today, I was cut off on the road, and I knew I had to prepare and get ready for this. It emotionally dysregulated me. But because I have the heart coherence technique, I was able to take a deep breath. I said, Ron, relax. You're about to present in front of a bunch of people. Stay on point. That belief system moved me out of anger, rage on the road. I don't do rage anymore, but I did. Emotional dysregulation, upset, maybe anxiety, right? That would have propelled me before. This is powerful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And guess what? This is what employers are looking for. This is what your client is looking for. Do you want to work with someone who's unregulated? Think about it. How about a financial advisor that has no emotional regulation, but he's got a Harvard degree, but he's constantly bitching and complaining? Is that the kind of people we want to work with? Think about that for yourself. Harvard University studies show adaptability and emotional regulation predict leadership effectiveness more accurately than IQ alone, especially in volatile environments. In finance, I'm constantly working with guys in finance. Why? They are walking people off the ledge. Sell the stock. Where's the ETF? Where's the Bitcoin? I thought you bought it. I want to sell it. You hear it? Stanford University research demonstrates adaptable leaders recover from cognitive stress you guys remember, 3 times higher than IQ peers without any regulation training, right? So IQ tells you what you could do. AQ determines what you can actually do when it matters. Powerful, game changer. Anybody who's investing in that has got my attention. So let's translate this state of mind that I'm talking about. So, as I said in the beginning, the emotional regulation is the brain's capacity to stabilize internal states under pressure. So when you say, I'm all in with my work, the brain goes into a superpower mode, clear thinking, impulse control. If it says just do it, anxiety levels speak. It works a different part, comes through the amygdala instead of the prefrontal cortex, which reduces your ability to reason, right? The critical point is changing and creating a new state of mind. State, STATE. In high stress environments, the brain does not default to skill, it defaults to state. And under threat, the amygdala hijacks decision making, suppressing the frontal lobe, which is focus, impulse control, and strategy, so it knocks you out. What's the secret? Understanding state. Let's dive into state as we wrap up. Modern definition, it is a neuro-emotional nerve emotion. You know the saying, you're on my nerves? Nerve emotion. I used to blame this all the time. I used to allow people, wife, kids, spirit, to trigger me. That wasn't the problem. I was already triggered. They triggered me. Well, he did this, she did this. I allowed them to get inside that neuro-emotional operating system and determine what part of my brain would be accessed at the moment. This is powerful stuff. I mean, we're training all of our pro athletes like this. It's like, it is probably one of the emotional seasons right now with NFL approaching the Super Bowl. You talk about emotional dysregulation. It's all just do it. When you can calm, you can actually think smarter, be more strategic. This is what parlays into some of the greatest athletes in the world. I remember going to school with them that they had to make sure that our grades were up to par, or else we didn't make the cut. Why? They were looking for emotional regulation. State governs your decision speed, emotional tone. Notice how I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you, and how I'm not yelling. It's emotional tone. I'm trained in it. So I train people how to speak, but it's not being a keynote speaker. It is being emotionally regulated. It also governs creativity. So if you're in a highly creative position, whether it's fiscal creation or it's liability or it's ingenuity or it's invention or arts, design, it also establishes authority. And of course, presence. We talk a lot about executive presence. So your executive presence, how about your executive presence as a person of faith in your private life? How do you portray yourself there if you're adhering to a doctrine of peace, love, and joy, but you're constantly emotionally dysregulated, arrogant, prideful? Those are all emotionally regulated states. Then you get in the car and you say to yourself, God, what a jerk I am. That's disruption for your next week. Versus saying, wow, I handled that situation really well. I used to be arrogant there, or I used to be conceited, guilty. I used to be, I had all the problems. There was no emotional regulation in my home. There was no emotional regulation around me. Then you add a little alcohol and drugs to that, which I am guilty of both. Oh my God, the brain goes offline. So see, now that I'm free and clear of that, all of a sudden this operational system opened up. You don't rise to your skill level. You fall to your state. You don't rise to your skill level. Go get more skills. Everyone's trying to go, I'm going to go get another degree. And this. I know people that have more degrees than a thermometer. They're still broke. Why is that? Emotional regulation. I'm helping a gentleman right now, a couple of people actually, but this one, actually it's a lady. There's two of them. It's the engineer and then this lady who was making $50,000 a year. She had no emotional regulation because she could not have the wherewithal to ask for a raise. I worked with her for about 6 months. It took that long to get through those neural pathways. Well, related to 30 years, it was a short time. And now she is making 110,000. She doubled. What was it? She didn't get any more education. She didn't get any more master classes. She started to invest in herself, saying, I need to hire a professional coach. My belief system is off. And if you guys haven't memorized it yet, memorize it now. Beliefs create behavioral change. Beliefs create. So if you want to change the behavior, you got to rewind back to, what do you believe about you? The data shows you what to believe. The assessment that we have shows you what to believe about you. So you fall to your state of flow. That's when cognition meets, when calling meets cognition. The flow state, which we talked about the other day, occurs when identity is aligned. Do you know who you are? Do you really know who you are? Because I'll tell you, all the highly successful people, they know who they are. Good people. We're not talking about corrupt natured people, right? Purpose is clear. Emotional regulation is stable, and skill meets meaning. Like, why am I created? Why is this fingerprint different than everybody else? Neuroscience shows flow is marked by reduced prefrontal over monitoring. You're constantly over analyzing things, increase neural function. This actually helps with the inflammatory processes. Most of you know that my early education is in strength and conditioning, in kinesiology, anatomy, physiology. I had no idea that all those years of training was helping me wrap the clear explanation that all precursors of disease are related to inflammation. Guess what? Stress is an inflammatory response in the body. So this will decrease inflammation in the body when you're emotionally regulated. It also, neuroscience shows that flow is marked by time distortion. So your time management assets increase. And then heightened pattern recognition. You're able to, like I did in the car, say to myself, Coach, you're heightened right now. I was in tune with myself to pull myself out. Research foundation on that's University of Chicago all day long. They showed that this flow state shows performance increased 500% in complex tasks when flow is achieved. Cognitive flow, grab my book. In fact, I'll give it to you for free, just DM book. I'll just give it to you. I talk about it in the beginning. How do we achieve flow? And we've heard lots of neuroscientists talk about this, great coaches. I wrote about it 10 years ago. Claremont Graduate University, if anybody you went there, they did on purpose-driven flow, sustained well-being and execution when calling and cognition align. Powerful combat. Why does this matter spiritually and neurologically, you say? Because when destiny and calling are found, the brain no longer fights itself. Energy stops leaking into fear and fragmentation and anxiety. And flow is what happens when who you are and what you do finally agree. Who you are and what you do. And people ask me all the time, Coach, how do you balance all this? Running 3 companies, family, potential separation and marriage. Full disclosure, these stressors affect people in real time. Don't try to position yourself as some untouchable, I'm constantly emotionally regulated. You're going to have down days. The key is be all in. Be all in. Just do it. Yes. Be all in. All right. You got it? Key takeaways: skill builds capacity, regulation unlocks success, purpose sustains flow, and the next level of just do it is be all in. I'm Coach Ron Kardashian. This is why we're always winning. The real winner this year is the emotionally regulated individual. And if you need me, I'm here. Our staff is ready to help and assist. If you are interested in the cognitive assessment, which I think you should take advantage of, DM us, send a text, send an email. You can send it to elitelevelcoach@gmail.com, and we'll get right back to you. Take advantage of a free 15-minute assessment, just so we can get clarity on really what's happening. And then once we understand what's happening with you, we can make those changes and we can augment, and you'll see the results happen pretty fast. I guarantee it. You'll see it overnight. That's where the term overnight success is that when you have the data to make sure that you're able to accomplish what you set out to do. I'm Coach Ron Kardashian. Until next week, keep winning.